All right, I'm here with Joel Spolsky, the CEO of Stack Overflow.
Hi.
Awesome, what a journey.
Yeah.
Not very many folks go from programmer
Yeah.
to CEO. The world would like it if there was a lot more of them.
I'd like to see more programmers as CEOs for sure.
So what's that journey like? I guess we should start by saying, what does Stack Overflow do?
What is Stack Overflow? Stack Overflow is a programmer question and answer site. So programmers come, type their questions, other programmers answer them. There's some voting. It really dominates the world for programmers who are having trouble with programming problems. They'll type their problem into Google, almost always land on a Stack Overflow page where somebody has already had that problem, somebody else has solved it.
And the conversations are ongoing.
Yep.
And I know that programmers are very passionate about their trade and also helping each other and kind of demonstrating their knowledge and then learning through that process.
It is absolutely amazing to see how much programmers help each other out and just want to, out of the goodness of their own heart, help other people.
So, very little known tidbit about me.
Mm-hmm.
The very first company that I sold was a company called Script Search.
Oh, really?
And it was 5,000 CGI scripts that we put on the web in 1996.
Wow.
Sold it to Meckler Media, Internet.com, Jupiter Media.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the extent of my technical experience.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so how did this journey come about?
Mostly it was just trying to solve a problem that existed, which was, if there are any developers in the audience, you probably remember before 2008, when we got started, there was a lot of programmer discussion on the internet. It was kind of scattered all over the place. But a lot of it was on a site called the Experts Exchange, which was essentially trying to charge programmers to read the answers.
Right.
And so even though it was a user-generated community of content, they were kind of trying to make a profit on the backs of the developers that were doing all this volunteer work. And everybody was really furious about that.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, how hard could it be for some other developer somewhere to throw up a discussion group and we can all get off of this off of this Experts Exchange nonsense. But nobody did. And after a year and a half, I was like, I just can't take it. And so I got together with Jeff Atwood, my co-founder, and we built Stack Overflow.
So what's the name mean?
Stack Overflow is a programming error that used to happen all the time. A stack is a concept in very, very low level programming. And in fact, if you've ever heard of an infinite loop, if you write an infinite loop in code, you will get a Stack Overflow. And so that will be the error message that you get.
So if you got a Stack Overflow going on in your life anywhere, come to Stack Overflow.
Exactly.
We'll help you out.
And I think now programmers write at such a higher level that they don't see that error message anymore, which is lucky because we've taken over those words on the internet. But, but that was just, everybody in college is sitting there trying to get their code to work, and it's either null pointer or Stack Overflow. Those are the two things they saw, and we got the domain. I couldn't get null pointer, so the Stack Overflow.
Yeah, for sure. There was when I was before I started doing tech, I was acting, and one of the things that happens after you do your scene, they check the camera to make sure that it's clean and nothing's in there and the whole scene's not ruined. And so they look at it and then they close it and they say gate's clear. Nothing was in the gate. So we got the domain name gatesclear.com. But
That's a great way to do it.
It's not really as relevant anymore, kind of to your point.
Yeah.
Technology's kind of overcome and a lot more digital now.
Yeah, but you always want, if you're looking for a domain name, pick something that is meaningful to your audience, to the kind of people that you're reaching, and not meaningful to everybody else. So it's kind of like the inside jargon.
Right.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So what's the scale of what you're doing?
Stack Overflow is in the top 50 of websites, of all websites in any topic. Obviously the #1 developer website, but even top 30 in some countries. 800 million page views per month, something like that on the site. 50 million programmers visiting every month. On the related sites.
Say that number again?
50 million.
50 million
programmers.
Visits, or unique visits?
Unique individual human beings that visit every month who are programmers,
That's insane.
Yeah. And there's a lot of programmers out there, and they're all on Stack Overflow.
I think that's all of them.
Yeah. I've never met a programmer that is not on Stack Overflow regularly.
Congratulations.
People come up to me and they're like, I got a window open to Stack Overflow.
So when did you start this?
We started in 2008. Took some VC in 2010. And been running since then. But it was really, it grew amazingly quickly. Like it became dominant among programmers within 6 to 9 months, I think.
That quickly?
Yeah. Very, very fast.
What caused the fire to catch?
There were a bunch of factors. There's a bunch of things that just make the site successful. Part of it, believe it or not,
there were like these moments though where you're like, bro,
and now I know it's going to happen.
We might make it.
Yeah, day one. It was on day two, when day two was double the traffic of day one, so on and so forth. I remember after about a month or two, I don't remember exactly, my co-founder and I went to a Microsoft conference, and there was a huge conference in Vegas. There might have been 5,000 people in the room, mostly programmers. And I said to Jeff, I'm going to ask them if they know about Stack Overflow. And he's like, no, it's going to be embarrassing. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. And I said, how many people in the audience use Stack Overflow? And like maybe a third of them raised their hands. And Jeff was shocked. Like he didn't believe it was anything like that number. And I was like, that's really awesome. And that was the last time I could ask that question without just getting laughter, right? Because now I go to developers and say, who uses Stack Overflow? And they know that it's a joke, right? Yeah. It's like saying, do any of you use gravity?
Yeah.
Anybody breathe air in this room?
What about from a funding perspective? How did you guys evolve the business?
So the first couple of years was self-funded, and we were profitable just by putting some little ads up on the site and a lot of career ads. So I can get a job at whatever company, which is very lucrative because everybody wants to hire programmers. And if you have an audience of programmers, a lot of people want to get in front of that audience. And that's still our main source of revenue. We took a few rounds of VC funding from all the fancy VCs. You can look it up. And
why did you take money from VCs? If you'd basically, I mean, that is the dream of dreams for an entrepreneur, to be able to start profitably and grow rapidly.
It depends. The initial round we kind of took just because we almost wanted the discipline of building a business.
Sure.
Oddly enough, like we wanted to be
just kind of force yourself to be disciplined
to a board of directors.
Yeah.
And once you start on that
path.
Good
choice, bad choice.
Yeah, once you start on that path, you start kind of hiring people. And
exactly. It's like having your first kid. Like, well, we're in it now. Might as well have another one.
Yep. It's a good way of putting it. And then fairly recently turned the corner on profitability. So now our destiny is in our own hands.
That's amazing. So what's next then?
The next thing we're launching is a whole bunch of Stack Overflow products for people that have private questions that they want to ask internally on their own teams without kind of going out to the internet at large.
Got it.
So there's a version called Stack Overflow Enterprise for big companies. And in May 1st, we're going to launch a version called Stack Overflow for Teams on our website for small companies.
That you'll have some competition on.
A little bit, but it's believe it or not, the competition doesn't have that Stack Overflow brand name.
Sure.
And so they're already out there.
But they're doing. I mean, these teams are already communicating other ways.
Yeah.
But you'll feel like you feel like you've got a captive audience, and you'll be able to leverage that and really extend the product.
Absolutely, and it says especially in the Q&A area specifically.
Yeah.
Because Stack Overflow stores questions and answers.
Okay.
It's not just a communication mechanism. So when you go back to search with the same question again, you find it with the answer, rather than maybe like finding an old email or an old discussion group or an old conversation.
How do you use data to manage your business?
We try to be extremely data-driven wherever we can. There's always a risk that you start incentivizing people by data, and and you can't find the perfect metric.
Sure.
So you get something that's not exactly the right metric, but it's a close proxy.
That seems like kind of one of the transitions you go through when you're really trying to create this data-driven culture.
Yeah.
Is there's those moments, but then hopefully the executives kind of have that experience and they're able to say, okay, actually, I understand the nuance of what's taking place here.
Yeah, people, I mean, you can point to examples of lots of super successful companies that are too focused on whatever the metric is that they've chosen. And
so what about, has there been any moments where you were looking at data or you noticed data that made you change the direction of the company or change the way that you offered a product or interacted with customers?
Yes. It's probably so frequent that I don't even know if I could really count it. But some of it, for me, a part of it was getting control of the financial data and actually understanding the finances myself and getting the right data that I wanted. And some of that stuff is pretty subtle too. Like I used to look at the financials. When you start a little company, you're like, hey, end of the first month, how much did I make? And then it's the end of the next month, how much did I make? You start looking at your financials on a monthly basis. And that sort of makes sense, except that from a financial perspective, that's never the right move. You always want to look at quarterly data because there's too much noise in the month-by-month data. Still growing pretty fast. I think maybe like 65% year over year in bookings.
That's pretty fast.
Great. Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
So
what's been kind of last question? I guess two questions. What's been the biggest challenge as CEO that you've kind of had to either you weren't expecting or that you've had to learn in terms of adapting what you kind of had done before this? Or
wow, all kinds of things. There are always people problems. It's always all about the people, and many stressful moments that we went through where the people that used to be the right people to do a job are no longer the right people as the organization grows and evolves. That's probably the hardest one because you got to move things around, and nobody likes that. It's just trauma and stress.
And then you talked a little bit about the team communication that's coming out. What's
Yeah.
what does your company look like 10, 20 years down the road?
I think Stack Overflow hopefully will continue to grow into more and more services for developers, more and more useful ways. We always want to focus on developers learning, sharing their knowledge, and then leveling up, getting better at whatever it is that they do. So that's, everything's going to be sort of related to that, getting better as developers and serving developers.
Awesome. Joel Spolsky, thank you very much for your time.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.